And finally, test from YouTube. Okay, so yeah, I've got integrated chat working, which is pretty cool. I can't really see how many viewers I've got across all of the different platforms, but I see that there's a few of you. Mr. Morepork is saying, thank you that the test is volume okay is on X. That is awesome. I'm really wondering what you guys think. You'll probably see that just like above my head now, you can see in the background, I've got the comments, and the idea there is you can see that they're coming in from all of the different sites, right? So the idea there is that anyone who's commenting to me that I respond to, other people can read it so that they can see it. And I'm just I'm still mucking about with like how to present that and how to make it look good. I think it's okay like this in the background above my head for the full screen, but I'm still not sure about doing it like with a browser chat or something like that. Or I probably should move my face across. So if I did it like this, maybe like that. So I'm sort of on this side so you can kind of see what people are saying and that sort of stuff. I hope that shines through. Mr. Morepork says delay test 1231, which is pretty cool, mate. I think that's actually pretty quick. I hope that comes through to you pretty fast. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Where was I? In that window. Yeah, and then I'm trying to do the same thing over here, kind of, just have it in the background behind me when I'm talking to a browser window. All right, so what I'm doing differently this time is I've moved the multicast off a server I have here at home into the cloud. And the advantage of that is like looking at my streams, like I'm heading out to Instagram, Rumble, Telegram, X, and YouTube all concurrently. Now the broadcasting software, which is what I'm using to record and the audio and video and display the browser and stuff like that, a tool called OBS is running on my workstation, and it's producing content at 6,000 kilobit. Hang on, let me just check that. Its output is currently, yeah, so about 6 megabytes a second, and which is reasonable for pretty good audio video. But what I was doing over the last couple of days was transmitting from my own infrastructure. So because I've been doing that to 5 different sites now, Instagram, Rumble, Telegram, X, and YouTube, that's 5 times the bandwidth going out. So across my link, and I think that might have caused some contention yesterday and for the stream to drop. So to fix that, I stood up the broadcasting platform in the cloud, in Oracle's cloud, actually on the American West Coast, to just kind of offload all of that bandwidth over there. So the only thing that's really coming out of my stream at the minute is that 6 megabit. So I've dropped it by a fifth, which is pretty cool. And we'll just see how performance goes. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. And I'll be able to watch the streams later and see if there are any interruptions or anything like that. Okay, so where are we? Mr. Morepork says 1 minute to when I saw it back on your screen. Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's probably about right. I did expect that there would be a little bit of delay introduced, because rather than sort of going from a broadcast into New Zealand to X, a site in Sydney, rather than that, I'm now going via the US West Coast. So if anything, yeah, it's probably going to introduce a little bit more delay. But as things go, just, about 1 minute, that's, I'm pretty happy with that. That's not too bad. That's not too far off real time. The other thing is it gives me time to read comments and things like that. Okay, Mr. Morepork says can't stop but looking good. Oh, okay, I think you're heading off. That's good. Well, listen, thanks again, mate, for your help. I really appreciate it. Having someone to do that for me is really useful. Okay, and having a look around, who else is here? Um, Oh, I can see there's some people on Instagram. I don't really recognize any of them. I don't know who they are. Hello, people on Instagram who've joined this chat. Simon Anderson, live in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm just going to be mucking about, getting my broadcasting solution right. And in a little while, I'll be reviewing the daily news from around the world, commenting on it, and answering questions and interacting with anyone who chooses to. Okay, quick check on YouTube. Okay, not too many users coming in there either. Right. Okay, so many windows. This is just this is often really difficult to manage. But hey, doing this, it's kind of doing the job of two or three people, right? Like, between talking to the camera and like loading up the news content that I want to see, and interacting with bits and pieces of content that I can pull in, is takes quite a lot of doing. Plus, configuring everything so that it all launches around about concurrently, managing this, that, and the other thing. So what I've been trying to do is to consolidate that as much as possible into as few windows as possible. So I think I've got it pretty good. And I think that the load looks pretty good. So I can see, for instance, on the server that's doing the multicast right now, it's using 65% of its memory. It's got about a gigabyte to use and only about 12% of CPU. So that's pretty cool. I think that that's handling it very, very well. And my own workstation's only using about 18% CPU. I'm outputting at 30 frames a second, 6 megabytes. So, really, really happy. I've got 0 drop frames across the board. Got to be pretty happy with that. All right. Coming back to social network. Yep. So anyone who wants to comment, please do. And I'll be reading the comments and responding as I see them. Okay. I can probably make that a little bit littler. I can actually even make that go away. Okay. Telegram's really difficult to integrate with. I don't really like it. I might actually drop it because no one really subscribes to my channel there anyway. But I'm really happy that between Rumble, Instagram, Rumble, Instagram, X, YouTube, that all of them, the chat functionality works, which I've tested. You can kind of see that above my head here. Yeah, it's working really, really good. Okay, and let me look at my producer over here. Let's have a look. Please do. And okay, that should all be going good. All right, probably time to hit the news sites. What does everyone think? That okay? All right, what's going on in the world? Heavy rain warning. Oh, that's not so good. Biden's about to drop out. Yep. The Beginner's Guide to Dating Over 50. Yeah, there's a must-read article in the New Zealand Herald. Sorry, Philip, but that's just not good content. Over to News Talk ZB. More American politics. People killing themselves or doing damage, abusing nitrous oxide. That's a bad idea. Not much there either. Okay. Okay. I see Sue. Yep. Hello, whoever's joined me in the chat on YouTube. Sorry, this is mostly a test and me talking about news. And I might just give it a little while in case some more people like to join, but we will see. Yeah, so we've got about 99 people tuning in, 9,900 people tuning in, which is crazy. Watching the fat guy talk about nonsense. All right. I really like David Farrow's Kiwi blog. I visit here every day. A Te Reo space is a good idea. So that's a space for Maori people to speak Maori in one of Auckland's universities, reserved for them. I like that they're encouraging the use of language, but I don't know that you need to make it an exclusive space. David? Biden is about to drop out by the looks of things. We'll see. And I really like the links that David has to other to other blog sites. He gives the sort of the latest headline from them. They're pretty good normally. Let's see if there's anything interesting to see there. Nothing I can see. Onto Cam Slater's BFD. Fluoride in water, protect your health and environment, la da da. I don't know enough about that topic. Don't think I'm ever going to either. Okay, nothing I'm going to read. Back to my home site, Liberty Itch. I still got to write an article for them. Oh, goodness. I'm sure my editor and publisher are less than pleased. Now a matter of when, not if, Biden bows out, says the Australian. Yeah, that's probably for the best. Lord, let your servant rest. That guy, he needs to retire. It's just so obvious, and it's abusive that they're making him stay in the race. Peter Dutton says claims by Labour leader they did not know of damning allegations against the CFMEU, including organised crime links and infiltration by bikies, was simply not believable. Yeah, it's not believable. It's utterly corrupt in Australia, right? You've got just the utterly corrupt Australian Labour Party, trade unions, organised crime. You know, they're all just part of the same clique. Okay. Oh, the Telegraph, yay. Centre right British coverage. Oh, here we go. David Lammy, one of the funniest politicians in the world. 12 David Lammy tweets that he doesn't want Trump to see. Oh, that's going to be a great article. This was great news too. The Extinction Rebellion founder got a jail sentence. They sent that guy away for 5 years. That's fantastic. So I'm definitely going to read that. That is just really satisfying. Seeing these eco-communists so just abusing the myth of anthropogenic global warming to impose a totalitarian far left police state on Western countries. That's just got to end, and it starts by putting some of these people in jail where they belong. So that's really good news. So yeah, David Lammy, he called Mr. Trump a neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath. Called him a troll. Da, da, da. Beneath contempt. Ooh, that is not what you want the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom saying to the guy who's going to be the president of the United States, your largest military geopolitical partner. A liar and a coward. Ooh, David, that's not good. Yeesh. Want to be despot? Oh, tell us what you really think. Yeah, David Lammy is not a smart man. Um, all right, now on to Extinction Rebellion. So the co-founder of Extinction Rebellion has been given a record 5 years prison sentence after the judge said he had crossed the line from concerned campaigner to fanatic. Yeah, that's true. So found guilty of conspiring to block traffic as part of Just Stop Oil campaign on the M25 over 4 days of disruption in November 2022. Yeah, they stopped sick people getting to hospital and ambulances and things like that with their nonsense. No, they didn't endear themselves at all to the public. They interfered with people going about their lawful business, and they endangered people's lives. And they didn't stop when it became apparent that that's what was happening. So yeah, they deserve to be punished for this. The longest non-violent protest prison sentences in living memory. Good. Should be longer. I think he got 5 years. Widely condemned by celebrities. Chris Packham, never heard of him. Hugh Fernley Whittingstall, never heard of him either. Um, the case threatens to become a cause celeb among Labour activists, opening up a potential rift within the party for Keir Starmer. That's always going to be the case. You know, the Labour Party faithful, those few people in the United Kingdom, Labour's never going to be as far left as they want them to be, and they're never going to be centrist enough for the rest of the British public, I don't think. Okay, I don't see anyone chatting to me, which is disappointing. Oh, someone sent me a message. Who's this? I'm in a live stream, Shelly. Um, so where was I? Yep. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that I have yet to pick up, I heard that there was some sort of demonstration going on in Leeds at the moment, like rioting and things like that. And I got the hint from looking at some of the comment from people like Nigel Farage that it was sectarian in some regard, but from people from the subcontinent. So we will see. All right, moving on to the BBC. Where are we? What's going on? Live from Trump. Yep, I don't care about that. This is really interesting. So there are riots in Leeds right now, and there just doesn't seem to be any coverage of it on the British dailies that I can see so far. Okay, so having a look at that. Yep. Yeah, so no coverage that I can see whatsoever in the British press I've looked at the minute. Maybe I have a look at the Daily Mail. Daily Mail. Right, okay. So here's the first coverage that I found in the British press. So yeah, so there's mob violence going on inside Britain. Ooh. I should be able to play this video.
With the article of what's happened.
Okay, it looks like a lot of brown faces there. I'm guessing maybe it's sectarian, people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Well, not people of that cultural extraction at least.
What? No way! No way! That's
okay. I don't know what's going on there. I haven't really sort of followed the story. I'm just kind of catching up right now. But okay, it looks like there's violent riots in Leeds. I did hear it was something to do with maybe like removing children from a dangerous environment. But I'm sure more of that news will develop. Okay, just quick look over at the chats. Okay. Yep. Just so you know, everyone, I don't actually know who is here and who isn't unless you do chat something at me, and then I can tell that you're here. So do stop by and say hello. All right, next is Spiked Online. Oh, what's Brendan O'Neill saying? The world needs more children. Oof. The Crimes of Muhammad Deef. I don't know who that is. Oh yeah, the violent misogyny of the trans movement. Well, it's hardly news. The trans rights activists are universally violent thugs and sex offenders, it seems. Oh, it's about Hamas. Yeah. Bad things happen in wars. Yeah, okay, this was an interesting story the other day. This is the dude who's trans identifying, rapist who's been sent to prison, you know, abusive towards women, abusive online, all of that sort of stuff. And he has some sort of involvement with that awful rape crisis center that's got a dude running it who gets off on interacting with women who've been sexually abused. It's just revolting what's happening in Scotland. Which reminds me, I'll just check on YouTube. Yep. It's there. Better look at my streamer quality as well. And yeah, doing well. Doing well. Very, very happy with the performance on this. So it'll be interesting to see what the stream comes out like when I come back and have a look at this later. Quick look on Instagram. Yep, still good. Very cool. And I might just pop into full screen for a moment. Oh, there's Miss Roderick. Hello. How the devil are you? I can see that you are in the chat, and you should probably be able to see it on the screen above my head. On YouTube, and you can see all of the little icons. Oops, go like this. You can see that it's icons from YouTube, X, Rumble, and Instagram all coming in, so people can see what I'm talking about. Lovely to see you, my dear. Thank you for joining the chat. If you have any questions to ask, I will be more than happy to answer. All right, what I'm doing, I'm just kind of testing. I'm doing this kind of multi-stream against lots and lots of sites with new infrastructure, and integrating this new sort of chat feature over the top of my head while I do a news review, which is kind of my daily routine. You know, I have like a bunch of sites that I just check pretty much once a day to catch up on world affairs, tech affairs, new local news, and news from around the world, which is what I'm doing now. And it provides me an opportunity to just pretty much test and interact with people as I go. All right, so I was just talking about this dude. You know, he's just a proper non-binary trans sex offender, and it is awesome. Yeah, he's talking about how he wants to beat the fuck out of some TERFs and transphobes. This guy was like an equalities officer for the SNP. The SNP are a major political party in Scotland and also at Westminster. And to have someone who's just so awful that the party knew about, effectively protected because they're part of the rainbow community while they commit heinous crimes, is just awful. Lots of fun in Leeds today, Shelley is saying on X. Yeah, Shelley, I was just talking about that a moment ago. I haven't really sort of followed it, and there's not a lot in the British press. The only article I found so far was in the Daily Mail, and I did catch Nigel Farage saying on X that it was sectarian in nature. People from the South Continent, from what's the term? Southeast Asia, no, South Asia rather. So people of Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian extraction, I don't know, but it did, from the video footage that I looked at before, it did look like there were a lot of people from those ethnicities. I don't know what the story is there, so I don't really I haven't found anything that I can really comment on, though I did hear that it was something to do with social workers removing children from a dangerous environment that set the community off. But as news develops, I'll be looking to talk about that. And yep, which is pretty cool. Okay, over to the Spectator in Australia. This is Andrew Neil's site, or the Australian version of it. Spectator in the UK, I have problems with. Sometimes their paywall doesn't work for me, so I just pretty much read the Australian one. Lots of coverage of American news, as you would expect, which is of very little interest to me. More whining about refugees. This is going to be a big story. This is Labour's love affair with the CFMEU. I think that people who are outside of Australia don't realise just how corrupt the unions are and how embedded they are with the federal Labour Party and also the state Labour parties and organised crime. You know, they scratch one another's backs, and there is just nothing these people don't do. And what we're seeing is that the Labour government in Australia is denying all knowledge of the corruption which has been exposed inside that trade union, and it's just nonsense. They would have not only known all about it, they would have very much participated in it. Particularly in Victoria, the Victorian Labour Party they're talking about here. You know, that's that guy, the premier who resigned about 6 months ago, Dan Andrews. I mean, you know, just proper far left corrupt extremists. So that'll be a story that'll be worth watching, reading. That's on spectator.com.au. That story will emerge, and hopefully some important people are going to jail. Right. Moving on, Euronews. I come here for continental news. What I like about it is that it's often news from the smaller countries inside the European Union. So you get news out of Poland and Hungary and places like that. You know, like in the English-speaking press, we often are mostly getting articles, if we see them at all, that are about French affairs or Italian, maybe a little bit of Spanish, that sort of thing. Dutch, maybe. But when it gets to the sort of the Central European countries and Eastern European countries, there's not an awful lot of coverage. And fortunately, there's Euronews, which does. More American stuff I'm not interested in. Violence in Paris, yeah, well, that's to be expected. UK back on the European stage. Oh God! So this you know, the Labour Party in Great Britain have always resisted the democratic will of the British people to leave the European Union. So what they're doing right now is trying to rebuild European relationships to effectively, if not in law but in practice, rejoin Great Britain into the European Union as much as they can get away with, because they are like that. TSNZ, all seems to be flowing nicely now, Simon. Good work, Cobber. Yeah, thank you very much, chat. That's much appreciated. What I think you were hearing before was feedback. I couldn't find, I had a window open that was playing the audio from one of the streams, and I think that you might have been hearing that while I was talking, that caused that sort of echo. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the performance, right? Like right now. It's pretty good, and I like that, you know, this thing above my head of being able to see comments. I'd be interested in people's feedback, whether they like being able to see that, so you know who it is that I'm talking to. You see, because like, you know, TNSNZ has just commented to me on X, but Sheila on YouTube can't see that in the chat, right? Unless I display it like this in the broadcast. And I hope people like that don't find it too distracting. I think it looks best like this when it's just me talking to you on camera. But it's also worthwhile, I think, having in the background when you've sort of got my head like this, or like this. And I'm still, when I'm doing a browser thing, I don't know what people prefer, like having my face little like this so you can sort of see more of the browser content, or just a little bit bigger so that you can kind of see my expression. I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. Probably the major disadvantage is that while you can see my expressions, you know, and the whole floating head thing, you're also having to look at my gargoyle facial features, which I imagine is extremely off-putting if you happen to be eating a meal while you're watching my nonsense. So to resolve that, let's go little. I think that's probably best for now. But interested in everyone's feedback on which of these two they prefer. Little Simon Head or Big Simon Head. Yeah, either works for me. Okay, moving right along. Sheila likes the layout. Thank you, my dear. I really do appreciate the feedback. That's good to know. But I'd also be interested to see which you like between, which you prefer rather, between Little Simon Head and Bigger Simon Head. I think probably all things considered, because I'll switch between the two, right? Like I'll either go between full screen like this when I want to talk to you and I'm not referring to other content, and then I'll choose one of the other two to go to when I'm presenting information in a browser window or from a video or from a live feed or something like that. So really, it's just a choice between Little Simon Head and Big Simon Head, interspersed with periods where it's biggest Simon Head, and I do have a big head. All right, coming back to the browser. Yep, go Little Head for the moment. Shelley's asking, can I do that in landscape? Yeah, I can. And Shelley, that's really interesting. Like I much prefer landscape. It's just, I just think portrait is just an awful format. But I hate it. I can't believe that I'm actually having to do this. But the sites like Instagram and TikTok, I don't have enough subscribers yet on TikTok to be able to go there, but they prefer this portrait format, and because of that, YouTube has been promoting it as well. So if I go to YouTube and broadcast in landscape, it effectively gets deprioritized. Whereas if I play their game and live stream in portrait, the video actually gets promoted out to my subscribers. So they really do sort of force creators into using this suboptimal format as all part of the competition between the various social media sites. So my plan is, yeah, I don't like it either. I much prefer landscape, and I'm going to be sort of interspersing stuff. And if it's the case that I'm broadcasting directly to Twitter, who don't care, then it will always be landscape, which is my preferred format as well. Full screen is good because you can see the feedback too. Okay, so you can see the comments there above my head, and you can't see them so well, I'm guessing. Like this. Yeah, that's because I think because it's occluded mostly by my body. And TNS is saying still around 1 minute delay. Yeah, I think that's probably as good as it's going to get, because there's a lot of processing that goes into doing this. You can imagine, like, you're getting the broadcasting software that I'm using right now is on my workstation. It's doing all of that processing, and then it's sending out a 6 megabyte stream from here in Auckland to the west coast of the United States to the streaming server, which is then broadcasting out to all of the other sites concurrently, and all of those sites have to ingest it and then present it. So, all things considered, a minute delay is pretty impressive when you consider the number of sites involved, the number of components that make this possible, and the geographical distances involved. And this is a wonderful thing about the world we live in today, is that we have these fantastic capabilities. So yeah, I fully appreciate it's not real time, and perhaps in 10 or 15 years I'll be going, wow, remember when, it wasn't instantaneous. But for now, I'm pretty happy with a 1 minute delay, particularly because it gives me the opportunity to actually read and digest your comments before you hear me respond to them. All right, so I might go back to reading the news. Goodness, which is, I know this is boring, but I'm just really effectively filling the airspace. So where was I? Oh yeah, Keir Starmer going on about that stuff. That's pretty interesting. You've got von der Leyen, who just came up on the screen there. I wonder if she's been re-elected to the European Parliament as the president. I think she might have been. And that woman is just an awful technocrat. And TSNNZ wasn't complaining. You've nailed it. Yeah, mate. I know. I realize you weren't, and I very much appreciate your input, mate. It's extremely helpful. I was just trying to explain what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was right. Von der Leyen has been re-elected to the as president of the European Commission, she's just, yeah, she's normally centre right, but she's just an extremist when it comes to net zero and all of that environmental nonsense. And she's just got to wind back on that. So yeah, but she's seen as the kind of the moderate candidate. I don't think so. I think that, you know, she transcends the sort of the left and right of politics to the haves and the have-nots. You know, she is a proper globalist technocrat, and I don't think her ideology is very much in the European Union's interests. And it's not making the right side happy either. Like, here's this section saying, oh, let me make that bigger. Although the bloc's more conservative leaders, such as Viktor Orban in Italy's Giorgia Meloni, have stayed silent. They haven't congratulated her, and there's a reason for that. Like, she, any European country which elects a right-wing / populist political party gets it in the neck from the European Union, and she's pretty much the person who drives all of that. Sheila's got to go. It's 2 a.m. in Scotland. Thank you for stopping by, Sheila. That was wonderful. And do drop back again. I'm really interested in following what's happening in Scotland around the SNP. You know, there's a whole lot of chaos around that stuff, and any guidance that you can give me on places I can go to find out more about it would be very, very valuable. All right, so thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Okay, next site. Al Jazeera. I come here, I know it's contentious. I know there are subjects in which their bias is pretty obvious, but a lot of their news, I think, is reasonable. And also, they were very good to me when I became notorious for the first time 12, 18 months ago. So, yep, I've got good things to say about these guys, and appreciate that people do have lots of bad things to say as well. Bangladesh student protests. More stuff in the Holy Land, which isn't good. Lots of news out of Africa and the Middle East on Al Jazeera, which is always good to see. Like, you know, you only ever really get the headlines in the English-speaking press, and these guys cover it. And nothing that particularly interests me, though. I'm getting a little bit husky. I've been talking a lot. This is Bassett, Brash and Hyde. These three guys are previous New Zealand politicians. They have a lot of interesting things to say, interesting articles, but they haven't updated since I read their stuff yesterday. I do know one of these guys, Don Brash, who was the leader of the National Party. I've never met him, but I've spoken to him a few times, and he is a good guy. Okay, on to the Financial Times. Love this site as well. More American news. France's National Assembly elects Macron's choice as its head. Of course they do. Oh, I can't access the article because I haven't paid them any money. Okay, well, I'll pick it up in Le Monde. This is... Yeah, Von Privet. This was to be expected. She got 220 votes. Okay, Goodness, she's my age. Okay, that's interesting. Shelley's saying, yes, it is. There's a lot of change going to happen globally over the next few months, and they are not good. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Shelley, I don't know what's going to happen there, but you know, I think there's going to be a lot of upheaval. Well, you know, there's a lot of really, really angry people there. You think of the farmers in Europe at the minute. You know, they're just really, the European population in general is just over this net zero anthropogenic global warming nonsense and the economic harm that it causes them, particularly the farmers. And then you have a whole bunch of the right-wing voting countries that are pretty down on the dictatorial nature of the European Union and the true power inside the European Union, which is the European Commission, made up of people who are not elected. And you look at some of the Central European countries like Poland and Hungary, which have said, no, we're not taking any sort of illegal immigration, no matter what you say, and being punished for it financially by the European Union and being frozen out of various initiatives and diplomatic and trade talks and things like that. And it looks like it's almost coming to an end. They're bickering so much. And maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. A European superstate was always going to be difficult to achieve when you have so many different cultures trying to all get along, and they all have different priorities and objectives, and trying to overlay technocrats like von der Leyen with their autocratic approach to policy is a recipe for disagreement. Okay, but France would be interesting. I'm actually not too unimpressed with having effectively a centrist minority government in France around the moderates, around Macron. I think that's pretty good, simply just for avoiding violence. The far left in France is terrible, and they are a threat. Excuse me, just digesting my coffee. Far left are a threat. The LFI and Mélenchon, those guys are just the worst. And as much as Rassemblement National and Marine Le Pen are demonized by the press, particularly the English-speaking press, while they are populist / far right, they are nowhere near as much of a threat to the Fifth Republic as the far left is. And particularly LFI within the NFP coalition of far leftists. When you think the LFI are the radicals, but the rest of the Nouveau Front Populaire that people don't consider radical are the communists and the Greens. These are extremely far left parties who are, they're anti-capitalist. They're anti-democracy. They will impose a Stalin-esque, as opposed to Stalinist, a Stalin-esque police state on France, given half a chance. And what is really ridiculous, to me at least, is that there is just no coverage of the fact that the far left is the real threat in France. They are much, like, as atrocious as many of the things that Rassemblement National and the far right in France say and do. It is nothing compared to how bad the far left is, in my opinion. All right, on to Le Figaro. I don't think Le Figaro does English translations of their articles like Le Monde does. So I just read it in French. And these guys are definitely a right-wing newspaper, and sometimes they're pretty good at putting the boot in. They're talking here about about how impolite the people have been. The far leftists are the ones that have got into the French legislature, which is the Palais Bourbon in central Paris. Just being rude between the candidates, and not shaking hands, and just showing contempt for one another effectively. It's all pretty much, a bit of a bun fight, and just people being ridiculous. At least it's not like, the Korean parliament where they start punching one another. But check this out. Like, I'm not sure if you can see that video very well, but what it is a whole bunch of, oh, there goes Mélenchon, of people refusing to shake hands. Yeah, puerile. Right. Shelley, totally agree your opinion on the far left. Yeah. And Shelley, your French is probably better than mine, and you're probably following French affairs and getting a lot more coverage of it in your part of the world than we are here. So you're probably much more informed, and I'm glad that you agree with me. Just to me, it just seems ridiculous that people don't focus on particularly Mélenchon, just how extreme that guy is. I mean, he's he's a French version of Pol Pot, and everyone's going on about Le Pen, but here's this other guy who's pretty cool. Toby Young writes here all of the time, and he's the guy I got photographed. I took a photograph with him a few weeks ago when he was here in New Zealand, which everyone thought was a bit ridiculous because I was wearing a very, very bright polka dot shirt. Here's this serious intellectual dude from the United Kingdom coming through to talk about serious topics around free speech and what have you. And he gets photographed with a dumbass like me, dressed up in a clown shirt. Yeah. So anyway, funny for me. All right, what's happening? Nothing I haven't read. Okay, all right, on to the tech news, which is this is my daily nerding. This is I just read the headlines of the site, oldtime/dot user. I've been using it for decades. Oh my goodness. NVIDIA will fully transition to open source GPU kernel modules. Nice. For people who use open source operating systems like Linux, NVIDIA is a difficult company to deal with. Like, you have their graphics cards, and the drivers are closed source, which makes it difficult to deal with. They've been a thorn in the side of Linux and BSD users for decades, and for them to open source their stuff is good, which no one cares about except for us turbo nerds. Okay, nothing much there. The Register in the United Kingdom, great news site that everyone knows because Simon Travaglia, who happens to be a Kiwi, the writer of BOF, the Bastard Operator from Hell, long-running web series. This is his home site, which is how everyone, I think, pretty much discovered that there was this great tech news site in the United Kingdom. It's because a Kiwi comedian wrote stuff there. All right, I think that's pretty much it. And now finally, Chris Lynch Media. Chris Lynch is a New Zealand journalist based in Christchurch. Christchurch is the major city in the South Island, and Chris Lynch is just awesome. He does hyperlocal news in Christchurch. He covers national affairs as well, international affairs, but mostly it's very, very Christchurch specific. And the man is inspirational. He's a heck of a nice guy. He's very well connected. Major politicians will go on his show. So here he is with the Minister Simeon Brown. He has the Prime Minister on with him all of the time, and he's fully self-funded, self-supported. He's one of those journalists that you just absolutely have to love, because he's effectively a one-man band who just absolutely does a fantastic job creating the new media landscape. It's actually inspirational how good he is. And the other thing I really like about him is, and you can see this article down here, is that he has some sort of involvement with the SPCA, and I think that I don't know exactly what it is, but he uses his news presence to introduce animals that need to be adopted and things like that, and to promote that as a particular cause alongside his news content, which is really good. There's there's an altruism there, and community contribution that you get from guys like this, which is just thoroughly admirable. All right. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much all of the news for the day. What I've been doing here, I'm just as I've been saying to people, I'm just giving people an opportunity to kind of interact with me if you want to, while I'm setting up this stuff. The idea is that I can just practice reading news, chatting to you guys, getting everything working, so that when a major news event occurs, I can go live really, really rapidly and pull in information from a variety of different sources to present that as a one-stop shop, as well as interact with people and give people somewhere to come where they can interact and say, hey, have you seen this? Hey, have you seen that? Pull the content in and distribute it, right? And collaborate, both with other producers and with the audience. And I think this is one of the real advantages of social media and the new media landscape and the tools that we have available to us, that there is the capability to do this sort of thing and to produce content rapidly as stories emerge. So that's the long-term objective, is to be able to do that. And this is pretty much me just practicing, getting used to it, talking about stuff that I do. And I know that mostly it's a bit boring, but I am actually having fun doing it. And I would encourage others to do it too. Like this stuff is, I probably make it look a lot more difficult than it actually is. And of course I'm just making it up as I go along. But it is good fun. And the more people doing it, the more great content is out there, and the more damage we're doing to the vestigial media and their awful, awful biases, which are wholly not good for society, in my opinion. All right, so having a look at my statistics, I might bring this up and show you. Actually, no, there's no need for that. Yeah, so everything just seems to be working really, really well. So this is going out via the cloud rather than from my own infrastructure. And it seems to be hitting all of the sites. I don't think there's been any pauses or delays. Yeah, nothing to complain about. So I think I'm going to finish shortly. Just because I think I've produced enough content. I've really run out of things to talk about. This has been really cool. So I think what I'll do from here, after I finish the broadcast, I go and I look at it on the various sites and see how the quality came across. Goodness, I'm really struggling to digest my coffee this morning. Excuse me. And just to compare, to just kind of get the settings as good as I can. But I think this is about right, around about 6 megabytes of output. But that just everything seems to be running smoothly. And if that's the case, I'm just going to continue like this and say job done. The next thing is to get faster. Like what's quite cool is setting up a broadcast on X and YouTube is really rapid, because it kind of has default settings. So that's quite easy to do. But the other sites like Rumble and Instagram and probably eventually TikTok, when I have enough subscribers for that, it's a little bit more finicky setting up broadcast by broadcast, less sort of templated, which is a little bit annoying, because it means that I have to start the broadcast and do all of these things to enable it everywhere, which gives a couple of minutes of effectively dead air as you're looking at me in the stream, but I'm actually just setting up everything else. And there's typically about 2 minutes before I even start talking, which isn't such an issue when I'm just going live. Like when people are watching live, because that 2 minutes gives people time to join. But on the replays and things like that, it's like 2 minutes of like looking at this floating head, not talking, and that is not great content. All right, so I think I'm done.